Hey guys, welcome to a fresh video here on the Blue Abroad YouTube channel. In this video, this will be your ultimate guide to the contract status of everyone going into 2025. Now, what I'm going to do in this video is go through every single one of them, have a look at what next year could look like, give a bit of a status update as to where they're at right now, and maybe predict what a deal looks like, a 1 year deal, a 2 year deal, a 3+ year deal. So we'll see what happens. Now, don't forget, this video is sponsored by Big Betting Australia. That's bedding, not betting. So until the 2024 draft, you can get 15% off every single order you make when you use the code BLUEABROAD at the checkout. That also includes free shipping, and also you don't need to have a minimum spend. So get onto the website, link is in the description below, and make the most of the deal because it runs out in a few weeks. George Hewett, next up. He's born on the 29th of December, 1995. That will make him 29 for the entirety of the 2025 season. He's been a really strong, consistent performer for Carlton for a while now. He played the 22 games in 2024. It was awesome this year. I think this was his best year for the club since coming across, and most consistent, even though we saw that he got dropped at a certain point when the coaches maybe either managed him or tried to do something different with the midfield. And there's that part there, which I think is a factor in the George Hewett question, because I think he could be a 2 to 3 year extension kind of player. However, given there was already an inkling that we might need to change things up with the pace of the midfield and the like, does that put him in a potential spot of danger where it's more of a 1 to 2 year extension than what it is a 2 to 3 year extension? Maybe. On the other side, you've got the fact that Kennedy's no longer on the list. So it seems like they've decided Hewett is the guy that we want to have in that midfield who plays in that way. So I will predict George Hewett gets a 2 year extension. Harry Lemmey, fascinating one, this one, because he's coming along relatively well in the VFL. We haven't seen him really close to playing AFL footy, which makes sense given Harry Mackay is at the peak of his powers, Charlie Curnow is at the peak of his powers. It's a pretty hard forward line to crack into. I think there is still a mentality of development around him. Does he push into the side in 2025? That would be awesome to see. And that might be something that we can now utilize as the years go on to give Charlie a rest if need be, if he's a little sore, which is something that we weren't able to do or just didn't do in 2024. Same goes for Harry Mackay. So still think it's pretty early for Harry Lemmey. Having said that, I do think he's an important one that we want to keep for the future, and I do think he will become more and more valuable externally than what he is right now. So just don't know how he's going. I haven't watched him with my own two eyes in the VFL, but from reports, it suggests that he's coming along well, and he's showing some signs. So I think this is a 1 to 2 year extension, similar to Billy Wilson, maybe a little bit more valuable given he's a key position player. So I'll say that Harry Lemmey signs a 2 year deal. Jack Silvagni. Wow, it's good to finally be talking about Jack Silvagni in the context of playing football. Still got a long way to go. His recovery from his ACL has been a little complicated. So there is that. There are a few elements here. First of all, he becomes an unrestricted free agent at the end of next year. So there's that. Secondly, I don't know where he's going to play when he returns. Is it just that forward ruck role that he was playing prior to getting injured? If so, that's going to be an interesting dynamic as we move forward, because it's a bit of a shake-up that's happened. You've got Zach Williams in that forward line now. You've got Ashton Moyer, who you want in that forward line now. Durden, Motlop, Fogarty, Cottrell, Elijah. Pick 3. Does pick 3 start playing on that half-forward flank? So I don't know. There has been some talk that he would potentially ply his craft in defence. That could happen. That might not happen. I don't know where that sits. Maybe that's a conversation for another video, but it's a massive year for Jack, and that's obvious. Gosh, I don't know. It's hard to see how he's going to come back and be better than what he was prior to the injury, because it's such a serious injury and you need some time. generally speaking. You need a year back in the system playing consistent footy, and there's always that notion of you're better in the second year after a reconstruction. And he's a guy that plays a variety of roles for us, and that's why I think he's so important, because he can plug a hole anywhere on the ground almost at any time in game. Oh. Born on the 17th of December 1997, so he will be 27 next year. Wow, he's in the sweet spot. I'm really confused by this. I'm going to predict, I think we'll be talking about this one late into the season. I don't know why. I just have a feeling that we're going to get to end of 2025 and he might want to look at free agency or test it. That's not to say he doesn't love Carlton. I just feel like coming off an ACL and being out of contract and being an unrestricted free agent, I mean, you want to give yourself the best opportunity to, he's a father now. So I don't suggest that he's definitely going to leave, but I am feeling and sensing that we're going to get to this point. Maybe not October, but maybe, August, September. I feel like this one will drag out to the very end. I don't know why. So what would I offer him? Let's just say he comes back and he locks himself into the team and he plays 22 games. Well, then I think you're looking at a 2 to 3 year extension, but we'll see what happens. Next is Jesse Motlop. He's going to be entering his 4th season in the system. He played 7 games in 2024. He had a strong preseason, and then it kind of ended when he stubbed his toe against the D's in that Amy Community Series match, and that was very disappointing for everyone involved. And then he had hamstring concerns and then recurring hamstring concerns. He's born on the 23rd of November 2003. So going into season 2025, he will be 21. It's a big year for him. There is obviously the chat around Matt Owies leaving, and most people's attention goes straight to Jesse Motlop filling that role, and I think that's fair. Zach Williams also comes into this forward line, and I think he'll stay there. I think this will be a bounce back year for Jesse. Best case scenario, he kicks 30 goals, 30 plus goals, and I think we're looking at a 2 to 3 year extension for a young small forward who, if he does kick 30 goals, that's a pretty solid contribution for a guy who's 21 years of age. And I think 2024 will be used as a bit of a learning curve for him, a lesson for him into his preparation and listening to his body and understanding it, and hopefully a better program for him to not allow for these recurring hamstring injuries to happen. So I think he'll bounce back. Personally, I still back him in. I think he's got all the talent that he needs to be a really good footballer in the league. And I'm going to back him in to bounce back. And I reckon we're talking about a 2-year extension with the trigger for a 3rd. That's my prediction. Mitch McGovern is next. We just did the Mitch McGovern documentary. Like I said, I was not expecting that to become a documentary. That was meant to be a 10-15 minute video max. But he's obviously, this will be the 3rd deal with Carlton that comes up. So he's obviously got the first one when he came across from the Crows. Then he extended at the end of 2023. It all depends on how many games he plays in 2025, to be honest. So he's born on the 11th of October, 1994. That'll make him 30 years of age for the entirety of the 2025 season. In a sweet spot. I do feel like Mitch McGovern, given the journey that we went on with him and have been on with him since he arrived, I do think the tail end of his career will be the best years of his career. I think he'll play really well next year. I think he's learned all the lessons he needs to learn in order to get himself available for 20 plus games. There is always a hamstring concern and a soft tissue concern with him, given his injury history and given the way that the game is played. So there is that. I think this is a 1 to 2 year deal prospect, depending on how many games he plays. Let's say, if he plays less than 10 games, it'd be hard to see him getting more than a 1 year offer. If he plays 22 games next year, 20 plus games, I think he plays at a high level because I think he's a high level player, and I think that's a 2 year offer. So it just depends on the number of games played. Maybe it is a 1-year deal with a trigger for a second. But yeah, I'd like to think we're going to see the best of Mitch McGovern for the rest of his career. And I think the lessons of his past will have been learned and he'll perform strongly. What do you think? Leave a comment below. Maybe go through every player and list the players and list your prediction as to what they are offered at the end of 2025 or prior to the end of 2025. Really interested to see where you value some of these players and how you value them. So we'll chat to you in the comments, go from there.